Got it. Hey, welcome back to Talking Threadheads. I have no idea what number this is, Chris. I'm gonna guess.
We're in season 2. We know that.
Hmm
We have 2 more weeks of season 2, by the way.
And like 8,000 of these scheduled.
Yeah, we've got a lot coming up. Maybe at the end of this, we'll talk about what's coming up. But I think this is like episode 13.
13,000. And this is going to be a fun one today because Chris and I are trying something new that we haven't done before. We have more than one guest. Well, we've had 2 guests. We have 3 guests, which is just going to get wild. We're going to try to have a round table where we talk about the cubes. And we're going to wing it. I'm just letting everyone know that Chris and I obviously do no editing of these. That is not in our pay grade. And we have a little bit of a plan, and we're just going to see how it goes. Does that sound right?
I think that sounds great. So our international panel of experts who have all been to Jazzfest countless times. In fact, when they first start talking, they should let our audience know how long they've been going to Jazzfest, how many Jazzfests they've attended. But we have Russ Agdern, and Russ, I hope I pronounced your last name correctly, from somewhere on the East Coast. We have Marc Engel, who is overseas in Great Britain somewhere. I don't remember where. And we have Swag in New Orleans, not from New Orleans, but who has lived in New Orleans for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years now, right?
I like to say I'm from here now.
You're from there now, yeah.
Gotta be careful with that. They'll ask you what high school you went to.
Yes, LSAL. That was a good answer.
So we're gonna just talk about. We're gonna jump right into the cubes Friday. Well, actually, for people who are arriving to New Orleans on Thursday, what's happening on Thursday night that people should attend?
Oh man.
What?
Well, there's an event in City Park that's always a great kickoff to
Of course.
to your Jazz Fest week. It's the Threadhead Thursday. It's a free concert with I think there are 2 bands playing this year. It starts at, I believe, doors at 6 p.m. In the Botanic Gardens, City Park, and that's where I'm going to start my Jazz Fest off.
Nice.
I spy I think maybe a little later than that, I spy a Headhunters-esque situation at Cafe Istanbul. You've got Will Blades with Donald Harrison, Mike Clark, and Bill Summers. That's going to be I would if I were flying in that early, I would make sure to try to get to that.
We do have the Threadhead wedding at the park, which is worthy of mention.
Mm-hmm.
And what day is that?
That's on Threadhead Thursday.
Oh,
Gar and Lisa are tying the knot after years of enforced delay.
Mazel tov. I don't think I knew about that. That's great.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Well,
it's the way to kick off Jazz Fest this year.
Absolutely.
Love.
Oh,
So
yeah,
people
that's
get
awesome.
a free concert and to attend a free wedding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Huh? Sounds good.
It's going to be like when you go to a restaurant and it's someone's birthday and you don't know them and you get to sing along.
Sing happy birthday anyway. I'm totally that guy that sings super loud when that happens.
I completely imagine that you are, Russ. I'll be hitting the hay, I think, early on Thursday night because I'm excited for Friday and I don't want to start Friday dragging, first day of Jazz Fest back.
What time since I've never had the Zechus, the honor of being there for Threadhead Thursday, how late does it typically run? Because you've also got that Bastard Jazz, the Les Claypool show that night.
I think they have a 10 p.m. curfew. And
Okay.
it's pretty strict too. It'll end at 10.
I would imagine, yeah.
I think there's only 2 bands this time round, so it shouldn't be running too late.
Okay.
And we all have gigs to go to as well, as Russ insinuated. I'm determined to catch Anders at Tips. And I'm also determined to catch his opening act, Shannon Mcnally. Less said about that, the better. And so there's a lot going on that night. a lot.
All right, should we jump into the first day of Jazz Fest?
Yeah. All right, so why don't we start with Friday, April 29th? I'm going to ask everybody to go around and tell us, what are you looking forward to the most that day? We are going to start with Marc because he has never been on Talking Threadheads before.
Oh,
Trial by
well,
fire.
Yeah, I think Friday is not the strongest day, put it that way. I try not to be too negative here, but I thought the main stages are a little weak that day. But the one I'm intrigued by is CeeLo Green doing James Brown, because that could be great, or it could be just weird. But that's a bit of a sleeper on the main stage. But that's my only main stage pick of the day. But who I really want to see is Layla McCalla. So I'm really looking forward to her.
Good call.
What is
Those are
anyone else?
my two picks for Friday,
There
actually.
you go. There you go.
CeeLo Green, Layla McCalla, and I also have I would love to be able to go see Kiana Lionel, but the jazz tent is just a tricky place to be, to get into, I think. So we'll see if it happens. Those are my top picks.
I'm going to jump in and say yes on Layla McCalla. She's just great. And she has a new album coming out in the next few weeks. And then my sleeper pick is Lilly Lewis at the Lanyap stage. I can't remember the time. I think like 4:30, something like that.
You cut me. Yeah, that's my sleeper pick as well. I don't know if a lot of people are familiar with Lilly Lewis. She's a trained opera singer and classical pianist, and she put out this really beautiful folk country album last year. And she's involved in that whole Black opera scene that's been really powerful and outspoken this year. It's African-American country artists that are reclaiming their space in country music. And so she's been an outspoken participant in that. And her music is just beautiful. So anyhow, back to what you're looking forward to, Swag.
Yeah, I was looking at the cubes, and I think what I'm most excited about is the legendary Rocks of Harmony. And it's got nothing to do with that particular group, but they are the opening band at the Gospel Tent. And after 3 years, when I walk in the Salvage Gate, as I always do, they're going to be playing. That's the first band I'm going to hear, and that's going to make my day.
Oh man, that's the truth. That is. I used to. They're not playing bands. I end up getting ahead of myself. I feel like that's almost always how I start if we're going in the Salvage Gate. Get to the gospel. Even if I'm going in Gentilly, sometimes I'll make a beeline for gospel. It just feels like the right place to start. Get centered in the hall.
Yeah, as far as a sleeper.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as my sleeper pick, and it's only a sleeper if you didn't catch him when he played Jazz Fest several years ago, but Bombino is a guitar player from, I believe, Nigeria.
Yeah,
who's got incredible talent, a unique sound, and he always thrills. And he's actually got 2 gigs on Friday. He's, I believe, in the Blues Tent. No, I'm sorry. Looking at the cubes. Where is he? Yeah, he's in the Blues Tent midday, and then at the end of the day, he's in the Cultural Exchange Pavilion. So if there's nothing in that 5 to 6 o'clock range that's grabbing you, it's a place to go see him up close.
Cool.
And Russ, I know you're not going to be there first weekend, but you got any, imagining you were there?
I put myself through the torture of looking through first weekend just for y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean I always gotta try to see the Big Chief. I always gotta try to see Donald Harrison. And just about whatever format he's in, whatever. Is he doing Mardi Gras Indian stuff? Is he doing R&B and hip hop? Is he doing straight ahead jazz? Is he with the interns or the headhunters? I don't care. I gotta see him. So if he's at the fairgrounds, I'm going to try to see him. My sleeper is not so much a sleeper necessarily for folks here, but I think maybe for people tuning in. I've not had the privilege or the pleasure of seeing Aurora Nealon do her Monocle performance. And I have no idea what the Rhythm Emporium, whatever stage is, but I think she will be different than just about any other thing you'll see that day. And I think for that alone, worth giving a spin.
Now,
Rhythm
Mark, you know a
Emporium,
lot. Oh, go ahead. I keep talking when somebody else does. Sorry.
it's tough with 5 of us, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say the Rhythm Emporium is a stage they created last fest or maybe 2 fests ago in what used to be the CD sales tent.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
I
so
know
now
what
it's
you're talking
so now it's a wine bar, and I think they have some frosés in there, but it's usually bands playing solo or maybe in a duo or trio format with a mic. I don't even know if they have a stage or if they're just playing on the same ground as you are, but I mean, you'll be standing probably 10 feet away from whoever's performing, so it's definitely the most intimate spot to hear music in the fairgrounds.
Oh, that definitely sounds like the move then.
What about the biggest scheduling conflict?
Well, I gotta say, I'm really glad that I'm not there to have to choose between Arturo Sandoval and the War and Treaty, because that's toughy right there. Because War and Treaty was like the most, as far as like threadheads and folks I know, was the most like universally acclaimed 2019 set. And Arturo Sandoval is just he is a master trumpet player. That is tough. At least they're right near each other, right? The jazz tent and the blues tent. So that would be my conflict of the day.
Are
No
we
love
ready?
for Lionel Richie? No
Go
love
ahead.
for Lionel? No love for Lionel Richie?
I'm going to go see Lionel Richie.
Okay.
I have love for Lionel Richie. I think
Man,
it's
I
going to
got-
be the vibe, like party, so I'm into that. Yeah.
Might be.
It's a fun stage when he's been 2 or 3 times, I feel like, in the last decade. So it's always a good time. It's a fun adventure for sure.
Cool.
So should we jump to Saturday, April 30th?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm just going to jump in with this one. The biggest conflict, I know this is out of order in terms of like sleepers and conflicts and all that, but the biggest conflict for me, if I was attending, because I grew up in the 60s and love the Who still, but they're playing against Jason Isbell, who I think is the best songwriter of this century. And I would probably choose Jason Isbell between the Jason Isbell and the Who.
Well, for me, the Who is a longtime favorite. They're probably, of the big name acts, they're the one more than anybody of the whole festival that I'm looking forward to seeing again. I'm hoping the show might be a bit special. People don't realize, but this is the 40th anniversary for them of their first farewell tour.
I like the first, yeah.
They did a farewell tour in 1982, and they've done several since. But I think this one might really be the last one, and it may be the last chance I have to see them. Jason Isbell, I'm sure I'll have other opportunities going forward. So that's how I make that decision.
Now, I know Mark and I were talking about some conflicts this day. What were we talking about, Mark?
Well, it's a really tough day in that I love Lost Bayou Ramblers, one of my favorite, more contemporary, Cajun groups. They're up against exactly the same time slot as Laku Music, who I really, really want to catch. So that's going to be a tough one. I don't know too much about them, but they're Haitian origin, and it's going to be a very difficult decision, that one. And then later on in the day, you mentioned Isbell and the Who, but Jose Feliciano is playing in the same time slot as well, and that's a relatively rare appearance, really. Not an easy. I've only seen him once in my life, I think. He is in the blues tent, so that might help the decision making.
Oh, that's a shame.
So that's a tough day. That is going to be a tough day. May just have to go with the flow.
I was listening to is it Laku Music? Is that how you pronounce it? I was listening to them the other night and I got so distracted I almost burnt dinner. I'm not kidding. I was like watching their live performance on YouTube. They are gonna set that cultural exchange pavilion on fire. They're so fun. And then I also have the conflict of I would like to see Asleep at the Wheel because I think
Yes.
that I think that my partner Chris is gonna completely love them because he loves Western swing and honky tonk stuff. So that's gonna be tough to get over there. And by the way, I just want to give a little bit of appreciation for Nelly, because I think for me, the Who are not an issue, but Jason Isbell up against Nelly is a little bit of an issue because I'm not going to go to a Nelly concert at home. You know, I'm totally going to a Jason Isbell concert, but I'm going to want to go over and see a little bit of Nelly. So I'm probably going to bounce between Congo and Gentilly in late in the day.
A sleeper, which is not really a sleeper if you've been to Jazz Fest before, but for people who are attending Jazz Fest for the first time, I would highly recommend the Gospel Soul of Irma Thomas at the Gospel Tent. That's just a must-see, an absolute must-see.
I've got an interesting sort of conflict early in the day. There's two performers who have a somewhat similar trajectory. Luther Kent is playing, as he does every year in the Blues Tent. He first played Jazz Fest in 1979, and he's only missed 3 since then. And at the exact same time, next door in the Jazz Tent is Jermaine Basil, who first played the Jazz Fest at the original one in 1970, and I think has only missed 3 since then. So one is kind of an old school, R&B singer, and Jermaine Basil, phenomenal jazz singer, and I'll probably end up with Jermaine, but it's interesting that those two ended up in the same time slot. As far as a sleeper, one band I want to point out to folks who maybe haven't heard of them is Lulu and the Broadsides, they're a relatively new band, but it's a group of a whole bunch of New Orleans musicians who have been around for years. It's fronted by Dana Kurtz. She's got some phenomenal voice, and she's got some of the best musicians in town playing beside her. She's got a few shows around town during Jazz Fest that you might be able to catch, but if you're looking for a sleeper for the fairgrounds, it's a band you may not have heard of and you will enjoy.
My sleeper pick for the day won't seem like a sleeper at first, but I'm choosing Johnny Sketch and the Dirty Notes. Here's the sleeper part. I think I read on social media that the Electric Yacht String Quartet is going to join them. So that will be a bit of a different performance from them than we're used to. And I just love the idea of them having more strings and a little more wackiness. So I think that could be a great sleeper set for that day.
Are we ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, really love Johnny Sketch. I can't imagine they could be any wackier than they are every other time I see them. They're tremendous.
Yeah.
Very, very good fun. Good way to start the day.
Yes. Good energy to start the day. And
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm looking forward to them as well. I'm trying to look through my cues before we go on, Chris, to see if there's anything else.
It's a good day. It's a really good
day.
Cyril Neville, Trumpet Mafia,
I always love Trumpet Mafia.
Yeah, it's a tough day.
I didn't realize we lost Russ there for a while.
Oh, you got to let him back in.
Yeah, I'm letting him in now.
All right.
He can be very quiet and shy and retiring sometimes.
Yeah.
We talked about you while you were gone, Russ.
It's true.
How did we lose you?
I don't know. My internet is maybe tired from working so hard all day. I think that's probably where things are at.
Well, you got back just in time to give us your Saturday, April 30th. The thing is,
I do have some. Oh, I got back just in time for For what?
For Saturday, April 30th. So you give us you get the Saturday, April 30th take right now.
Okay, great. So first of all, I actually felt that there were a couple of really frustrating conflicts. Like, what are you doing, Quint, putting Cyril and George on at the same time at opposite ends of the fairgrounds? What's that all about? Haven't the meters been through enough? I mean, honestly. But also there was a slot that's like crazy, right? There's like a galactic Tank and the Bangers, the Soul Rebels, and the Cookers, and Irma's Gospel tent set all at the same time. If this was like my pre-2014, pre-2015 days, 2015 was the first Jazzfest Elijah came to, I might try to like sprint through the fairgrounds and try to catch like 5 minutes of everybody. But thankfully, I don't have to worry about that. I have my own second weekend things to worry about. And my sleeper, I would say, he's not normally the vibe that I think I'm really in, and maybe you guys probably think of me as like the horns and funk guy all the time, and fair. But I do love me some Billy Ayuso. There's something about, even though he's a Mets fan, there's something about a New Yorker who's really gotten into the like soulful singer-songwriter situation down there. I love trying to catch him. You know, I might sneak out a little early before he finishes to catch the end of Nathan and the Zydeco Cha-Chas, because you got to do that. But I would make sure you get down to Lanyap, catch a little of him on Saturday for sure.
Well, I'm glad we got you reconnected because your takes are great.
All right, I think that brings us to Sunday, May 1st, the last day of first weekend. Who wants to jump in here?
Deacon John.
Yep.
I don't care if he's playing in the blues tent. I don't care if he's got a tin can amp. Deacon John.
You're
He's
right.
New Orleans institution. He is like, my first Jazz Fest was 2008. I feel like I'm probably a baby compared to the rest of you in that regard. And I pulled the trigger because Stevie was going to be there. But I got to hear Deacon John sing Manita Rivers to Cross in a drizzle at Gentilly, and I was weeping. It was like somebody like hit me with a hammer and broke me open. Go see Deacon John. Even if he's not playing guitar, even if he's not playing piano, he's a virtuoso at both. Even if he's just standing or singing, even if he's just sitting and singing, go see Deacon John.
But see, the problem, even though I think you're right about Deacon John, he's playing against Lynn Drury at the Lanyap stage, and Lynn puts on a great set. She really does.
I feel
Well,
you.
you can see both. You can see both.
Yeah, you can see both. You'd have to do some running, but yeah.
Yeah, I second Deacon John. I mean, you won't see him anywhere else. He doesn't travel. He doesn't play out
tour anymore.
And he doesn't. You know, it's a blues tent or bust. So you have to see Deacon John. I agree 100%. I remember seeing him my first fest 20 years ago, and I thought he was a really old man then, but now he is an old man. He was quite young. He was only 60 then. Now he's 80 odd years old, and he's an absolute legend. And I've told many first timers to go and see him, and they're always a bit dubious. You know, big band wearing spats and all that thing, but what a show! Tremendous show, man. So yeah, that's a no-brainer, that one for me. But there's some bad clashes that day as well. And early on, I mean, Zachary Richard, who I really love, really soulful, you know, singer-songwriter, Cajun singer-songwriter. And Rick Trolson, another relatively rare chance to see Rick. I haven't seen him for a long time at Jazzfest. He's up exactly the same slot. So that's going to be a difficult one. That is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, Rick Trolson, his orchestra was my sleeper pick for the day. It's
Nice.
There's a lot of criticism that comes in for the jazz programming at Jazzfest, that it's the New Orleans bands in particular, it's not necessarily all that original, and it's a lot of the same sort of sound. But when you go see Neslord, or Nesl Orchestra, they're calling themselves now, it's a bit of a different kind of jazz. There's some it's modern fusion. It's a little out there for sure. Sometimes it's a long way from Dixieland.
My sleeper pick is the remembering Spencer Bowen at the Lanyap stage.
Oh yeah, that's going to be great.
I mean, obviously that should have happened back in 2020, and with Jazzfest being canceled, it didn't. But I'm glad Quint decided to keep this on the schedule. It'll be great, and it'll be very emotional.
Yeah, that was one of my sleepers as well. I also want to throw some love to Mark Stone, who's always just a tremendous, a friend of the Threadheads, tremendous performer. I feel like not a lot of folks know about him, but he's always doing great stuff in a variety of different, whether it's him solo or his crew or the like new Soul Finders project he's got going. Always great stuff. I do have to name one of my tough conflict of the day is I feel like, whenever the Tbc Brass Band is in Economy Hall, you got to go see them, right? They're loaded up for a festival, so they've probably got Shamar Allen with them. They've definitely got Roger Lewis with them. It's like they're the expanded roster, and they've always got a great group doing a second line in there, really incredible stuff. But you got the electrifying Crown Seekers, in the gospel tent. And if you have never seen that performance, that is like, I mean, you want to talk about a name that is true. They are, I've seen them like leave the gospel tent in tatters. Like they're unbelievable. They put on just an incredible, powerful, high energy set. So that's a toughie right there between those two.
My sleeper pick of the day is Daniel Lanois with Brian Blade and Daryl Johnson on the Lanyap stage right before the Spencer Bowen tribute. I think that's going to be an incredible, I think it's going to be a vibe. I think it's going to be something people talk about. So I'm looking forward to that.
And I would pay money to see Brian Blade play the diddles. Like, that dude is a monster.
And Daniel Lanois' most recent album is just a straight up gospel album. It's so unexpected and a little out there. So check it out. I think this has the potential to be something pretty cool and memorable. I'm most looking forward to that day. I'm also a fan of Zachary Richard, so I'm looking forward to starting the day there. I will stick around and hear a bit of Paul Sanchez in the Rolling Road Show. And as a newer Anders Osborne fan, I'll probably scoot over to Festival Stage to catch a little Anders as well.
No one's mentioned Randy Newman, who's another legend.
He's coming. He's going to really make it this time.
We hope he's well enough to play, because he's had his health issues. But again, I've only ever seen him once. That was a Jazzfest, maybe 2003 or 5, a long time ago. And it's going to be difficult to not catch him, even though he's in the blues tent. But he's a complete clash with the Spencer Bowen tribute. So that's another tough decision to make.
There's also the in memory of Ellis Marsalis at the Jazz Tents.
Right, that's also going to be hitters.
Yeah.
Indeed. A very good day.
Yeah.
This may be the best day so far, yeah.
I think so. I mean, I have a lot of, for me, a lot of it depends on where I'm at, what my mood is, right? What the weather is like, It could end up being a jazz tent afternoon and then a Lanyap stage afternoon, or I could be out in the sun at the festival stage. It really depends.
Are we ready for going to second weekend, Thursday, May 5th?
Yeah.
So some people have already flown home. Some people are flying in. People on this Zoom call, I think, are all going to be there both weekends. Oh no, Russ, you're not going to be there first weekend, right?
I land Monday afternoon, as is my usual style.
Got it.
Monday between. Get there in time for Frequinox.
So maybe, Russ, you should lead us off on Thursday, May 5th on some of your picks.
Man, I got to tell you, it's funny because Marc mentioned their first Friday being a little like not quite as strong. I don't feel like I have that problem at all at any. In fact, I feel like I have the opposite problem, which is there are like really like 4 picks that are my like favorite, right? Like which one am I going to say here? The Dozens tribute to Dave Bartholomew or Nigel Hall or checking out Rumble. I think I'm going to go with sentimental favorite Herlin Riley, who's just an incredible drummer and one of my like all-time favorite night shows. At the Zichrono Livracha, Julius Kimbrough is the prime example. I got to see him and his band just throw down an incredible set. It was all over the map, from straight ahead jazz to like Meters and James Brown covers. The People Make the World Go Round, which he started doing. I think like when he used to play with Dr. Lonnie Smith, Zichrono Livracha. But yeah, Herlin's going to be incredible. My conflict block, there's a block that has Tony DeGrati, Lewis Ford and his Flares, the Rumble, and Kermit Ruffins all at the same time, and that's just cruel and unusual punishment. And my sleeper pick, not necessarily a sleeper for the folks here, I think, but for people tuning in or coming to their first Jazzfest. They're going to say, what kind of name is the Pfister Sisters? They're closing up Economy Hall. They're an amazing vocal jazz group with incredible harmonies. I've gotten to see Debbie Davis in a bunch of different groups. I've gotten to hear them. They're phenomenal, and it's going to be unlike any other thing you hear at the fairgrounds. They're really their own thing and worth making a stop for, even though it's the last slot of the day.
Swag.
Well, I'll start with my sleeper because Russ dropped the name a couple of times of the Rumble, and I imagine most people, especially outside of New Orleans, have no idea who the heck they are. But if you've been coming to New Orleans over the recent years at all, you might be familiar with a band called Chawa, which is a Mardi Gras Indian music band led by some of Big Chief Monk Boudreaux's family. Well, Chawa had some kind of thing happened with the band a few months ago, and most of the members of the band left the group Chawa, and they reformed as a new band called the Rumble. Monk's son Joseph is the lead singer, and so if you're looking for Chawa style Mardi Gras Indian music, that's what you're going to get with the Rumble.
What time is that? Where is that?
They're I'm pretty sure they're at
They're Jazz and Heritage,
Jazz and Heritage.
1:55 p.m.
Yeah. Then the one set that intrigues me on the day is Leo Nocentelli presents Another Side. We're all familiar with Leo Nocentelli as the guitar player for the seminal New Orleans funk band, the Meters. But sometime in the early 70s, during a period when the Meters had broken up, he recorded this album that had been lost and was only just rediscovered and re-released in the last year. And it's completely unlike any other Leo Nocentelli you've ever heard before. It's
ain't that the truth?
It's rootsy, it's folksy. It sounds more like Van Morrison or Donovan than the Meters. So Leo has his own set where he's doing his regular stuff on another day, but on this day he says Leo Nocentelli presents Another Side, and I think he's going to be doing the music from that album, and not sure if I'll ever have a chance to see that again. So that's one that kind of jumps out that I want to catch for sure. And as far as my conflict for the day, in the final slot, on the one hand I've got Billy Strings, who I've never seen before. He's a great guitarist who's got incredible buzz. He's a true up and comer. It's like he was playing small clubs not that long ago, and now he's playing arenas. I've never seen him. I would love to see him, but in that same time slot, I've got Betty Lovette, who's a legendary blues singer who's over the last decade or so kind of had a career resurgence. She's got a unique vocal style, absolutely love. She doesn't come to town very often. And as much as I want to see Billy Strings, and this is the case where one of them's in their 70s and one of them's in their 20s, and I'm probably going to have to head into the blues tent for the septuagenarian.
I have a question for all of you. If you were walking into the fairgrounds at 11 o'clock, you have your choice of about 10, 11 bands to see. Who do you see if you're for your first band of the day?
Thursday? On second Thursday?
Uh-huh.
I'm probably going to start by heading to the food booths, getting something to eat, fill myself up that way. But then once I got my food, probably I'll head towards Gentilly for the Inquadas. Just taking a quick look.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and that is the right call. And I think I would probably, as much fun as it is to start at the gospel tent, another kind of gospel is at that Jazz and Heritage stage where you get some Mardi Gras Indian funk to kickstart your day. I feel like if you're new to Jazz Fest, getting to start with some good Mardi Gras Indian funk, that's like, that'll bring you right home.
I'll say this too. I always preach to newcomers, not to overplan your day. And if you look through something like the first time slot and you're not sure about any of these bands, I'm a huge fan of just following your ears.
Yep.
Take a walk around the track, and you'll walk by 5 or 6 different stages, and see what moves you, see what grabs your attention.
So if I were wandering in on Thursday, I think I might do what you guys suggested, or I sometimes really like that the mellower vibe inside the Lagniappe stage in the morning. And I just noticed that Evermore Nest is the first act on that stage that day, and that's the songwriter Kelsey May's country band. They're maybe a bluegrass band, I'm not sure, but I think that has potential for a really nice, peaceful and pretty way of starting the day. How about you, Marc Engel?
I'm a fan of Gal Holiday, so if I was there at 11:20 a.m., which is optimistic, I'd probably start there. But the problems I have are later on, because my sleeper would be Ranky Tanky, who are from the Georgia Sea Island area, a young band, and they play music from that tradition. But they're not a museum piece by any chance. They're a very, very entertaining band. I've never seen them live, seen them online, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them. But I have to see the Dirty Dozen with Elvis Costello reprising that incredible Dirty Dozen album from 30 odd years ago, which may be the first time I came across Dirty Dozen. I'm not sure, but it's an amazing record. And, to have Elvis there doing That's When I Got Killed Before, that's the number he did, the Dave Bartholomew number on that album. That would be special. So I'm gonna have to maybe do an hour of that and then go to Ranky Tanky. But and then one more conflict. Swag mentioned Betty Lovette and Billy Strings. I was lucky enough to see Billy in London just a week and a half ago, and he was tremendous show. So I may, if the weather gods are kind to us that day, there's nothing better than, blissful, sun is going down, it's cooling down a bit after a beautiful day, to go to Congo stage and hear some reggae. And what better than Ziggy doing Bob Marley? I mean, that has potential to be amazing. So that could be a great end of that day.
Pretty solid for a Thursday, isn't it?
It's pretty good for a Thursday, yeah. Pretty good. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Friday, May 6th. Who wants to start with their picks for Friday?
Friday. Let's call that up.
By the way, I just have a feeling that one of you is going to recommend Midnight Disturbers as your sleeper show, and I would second that if someone's going to say that.
I had Midnight Disturbers in my conflict list because they're the Midnight Disturbers. If you're not familiar with them, it's kind of an all-star who's who New Orleans horn funk. And this year could be particularly special because one of their founders, drummer Kevin O'Day, recently passed away. And that may give some extra motivation on there.
I mean, just a point of order, Chris. You can't second something before somebody has firsted it. Okay.
That's a good point. I second that point.
Well, wait, Swag, I agree with you in the conflict because I feel like there's a crazy conflict in their slot. Who are your folks that you're like stressed about?
So the two others are, if you look over to the Fado Do stage, where's you've got the Campbell brothers.
Campbell brothers.
Sacred Steel. They've played Jazz Fest 4 times before, and they've always played in the blues tent. And somehow this year they got slated outdoors at Fado Do. But for people who like the blues tent music and don't like the blues tent, well, here's a blues tent band that's going to be out in the sunshine, and they always bring it. And then the third one, who's kind of caught my eye, is someone who I've never seen or heard, but I'm getting a lot of buzz about, is Cinefunk from Cuba. In that same time slot at Congo Square. And I think they may have another set earlier in the day elsewhere that could help alleviate that. But then if you catch the early set and they're that great, you got to see them again. So
So that's my big conflict, and I'll add Wendell Brunius as All Stars into the mix for how much of a conflict it is. Wendell Brunius is the former leader of the touring Preservation Hall band. His brother is John Brunius, the late John Brunius. He is uncle Mark Brode. And aside from having a lot of impressive family ties, he's an incredible trumpet player and band leader. And he had a health scare a year or two ago. So it's a really, I'm really, really fired up about seeing him. And while all that is happening that we've all just talked about, you've got the back half of the Preservation Hall Jazz Band set, I think at Gentilly, right? So that's like a crazy slot right there. You've also got slightly earlier than that, you've got Stanton Moore's jazz set going at the same time as Erica Falls, the Zion Harmonizers, and at the same time when that beautiful, which I'm sure is going to be incredible, Art and Charles tribute, which is I think the thing that I'm looking forward to. I think that's also got the potential to be really powerful and special. So the Friday has got a whole bunch of crazy conflicts.
It's actually worse. It's even worse than you think, because not only the Midnight Disturbers and the Campbell Brothers and the Preservation Hall and Cinefunk, you got a good chunk of Buzz Skaggs, which is someone I haven't seen ever, and he's playing outdoors, which is great.
Oh no, I froze.
And there's also Tommy Mclean, who's an 80-year-old legend, formerly in the Little Van of Gold. He's got a new album out. He's playing the Lanyap stage. He's wonderful. Great album. It's a very, very difficult slot to choose. I don't know how anybody can make this sort of decision. It's a nightmare. It really will keep me awake the night before, for sure.
I might choose Boz Skaggs just because Silk Degrees to me is still it's just a fantastic album, even 50 years later, whatever it is.
And we're not even talking about the Adonis Rose and the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra set. They're also phenomenal.
Yeah. Incredible. Great day.
My question is, where do you guys end the day?
Could be Elvis. Could be Elvis Costello.
Sleeper. Roddy Romero, who's a wonderful. Another. It's really quite a good day for rootsy Cajun-y stuff. And Roddy Romero is a beautiful singer. He'll have a really good band from Hub City All Stars. They have Shreveport, or I think that's the Hub City. Is that right? That's a definite maybe. But I want to back up to earlier on in the day where there's yet another clash is Les Frères Michaud, which is, you know,
Mhm.
the brothers of Lost Bayou Ramblers. It's slightly more modern
Mhm.
stuff. Very, very interesting sound. And who are they clashing with? I can't remember now who I found them. Maybe that's not a clash. Maybe
Well,
it's
I
just a
have them
sort of,
clashing. I have them clashing with the Tropicals, who
right.
nobody else has mentioned, but that's a project from Charlie Halloran,
Right.
who plays with
Okay.
everybody, accomplished trombonist, and this is
Yeah.
his tropical vacation Polynesian
Right.
project. Yeah.
Island music.
Yes, island music, boat
Yeah.
drinks.
Yeah.
But not Jimmy Buffett. No.
No, valid boat drinks.
On the end of the day question, it really depends what kind of mood I'm in and what mood the rest of the family is in. I'm torn between the Newport All Stars, which is like, you know, to Swag's point earlier about the jazz tent sometimes being a little frustrating. That is a hell of a lineup in that last slot.
Mhm.
But you know, back before I was so seriously into this New Orleans music as I am now, I was a hip hop head and I still am. So like getting to catch Busta, like
Mhm.
that seems like that might be a real good time, although maybe not so Elijah friendly in terms of language, but Busta's got a killer flow. Like one of he and Badu are the two sort of headliner folks that I'm most, because I'm, you know, second weekend that I'm paying attention to.
I also had as a sleeper act Uncle Neff, which some folks might
Oh
not
yeah,
be
they
familiar with.
have interesting stuff.
Yeah. So that's Shannon Powell and Darren Hoffman. And I mean, the last time I checked, it was a drum and guitar duo, kind of spacey and R&B infused. And again, just something kind of different for the fairgrounds and for the blues tent. So that might be a good one to check out. And I have to see DeVelle. I mean, that's a must see for me. I won't be around, or at least I don't think I'll be around to catch DeVelle at night at Snug Harbor. So I'll probably have to swing by and see what on earth DeVelle is up to in the blues tent that afternoon.
Well said. Well said.
I've got one sleeper, which is 11:15, I think it is. First set at Economy Hall, the new Leviathan
Oh yeah.
Oriental Foxtrot Orchestra. They
Mhm.
are just fun. They do old time jazz, and they're just a blast. They're a hoot. I would
Yeah,
highly recommend them.
yeah, they're great. They're great. My sleeper, which we haven't named yet, I don't think they're, again, this is like a for the audience sleeper and maybe less so for this group, but like I don't know what the Boudreaux family of feathers is, but I have a pretty good idea. And if it's what I think it's going to be, which is Monk and like his sons and his brothers and whoever else throwing down, like I think that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Good eye,
Mm.
Russ.
What does anyone think about Chris Isaak? Has anyone seen Chris Isaak live?
I saw him years and years ago, decades ago in LA. Yeah, he's good.
I think of that one song with that one video whenever I hear his name, so I feel like I'm a bad judge.
Wicked game. Yeah.
Nicole, we ready to jump to Saturday, May 7th?
If you guys are, did everyone get their picks in?
Mm.
Going once, going twice.
Well, let's go to the 7th. See, Swag is the first person on my screen that I see upper left, so I'm just going to call on Swag.
There's something interesting about Saturday, which is, you know, Jazz Fest is sometimes criticized for not booking, you know, enough female talent. And this day in particular is absolutely loaded with the women.
Yep, good call.
If you look at the fest stage, I think 4 of the 5 bands are female fronted. 4 of the 6 bands and Gentilly are female fronted. You look at the closing slot, it's Stevie Nicks and Lauren Daigle and Erykah Badu and Melissa Etheridge and Lena Prima. So I mean, if you're looking for the ladies, this is your day.
Well, I'm going to add a woman to this, Shannon McNally, because she's very good, and also I have sort of a crush on her. So
join the queue. back of the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I wanted to mention, I didn't really have a great sleeper for this day, but so I thought for the sleeper, what I point out is, if you look below the cubes, there's the small print, down in the small print of the parades, and the parades are always entertaining.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, the parades, instead of being just a standard parade or a jazz funeral to honor someone who's passed on. And unfortunately, with this being the first festival in 3 years, we have 3 years worth of enormous talents that have passed on. So it seems like almost every day there are jazz funerals to subdue world's giant. I think the jazz funeral this day is Art and Charles Neville. It's look at the cubes, but don't forget the small print. Don't forget the parades.
Yeah. And it looks like they're doing an unveiling of in the Ancestors area, which if you haven't been to Jazzfest, like there are a whole bunch of like really nice like representations of really important folks in New Orleans music and in Jazzfest history that have passed away. And so that like, if you do get to do the second line, don't forget, you could spend a few minutes and hang around. Wouldn't surprise me if you heard, some eulogies on those folks from people that, cared a lot about them. So in 2019, there was one for Henry Butler, and you got to hear his family, and also, DeVal played something, and like there'll be something a little extra special, I think, for when those folks. Good eye on that, Swag.
Yeah, I think it's the strongest lanyard stage day I've ever seen in my life, my career at Jazzfest. You've got Shannon Mcnally, followed by William Prince, who's my sleeper of the day. He's an indigenous Canadian artist from Prince Edward Island. Seen him once before, and he's very, very impressive. Singer-songwriter, really deep songs, and I think people will. I think people will be really pleasantly surprised. He's definitely worth catching. Then that leads into Andrew Duhon, who a lot of people will know, another great singer-songwriter. And that stage closes out with the New Orleans Klezmer All-Stars, which, Russ and myself know and love very well. And in the original vernacular, we can sing along with them. It's a great lanyard day, a very good rootsy day all around. You've got Hooray for the Riff Raff. You've got Shovels and Rope, excellent duo, or are they trio now? I can't remember now. I think it's a duo, husband and wife duo, and they're very, very good. Bill Kirchen opens up, Commander Cody guitarist. A really good rootsy day. Almost.
I also want to point out the Seratones. Or just Seratones. They're on the festival stage after Me of Borders and before Samantha Fish. I think a lot of people really dig them. They're this soul band from, I think, Shreveport. I'm not positive. Definitely in Louisiana. But they're a nice, powerful, female-fronted soul band.
I would probably plan my day around two other bands that haven't been mentioned yet. One is Dr. Michael White in the Economy Hall tent, and then John Boutte at the Jazz tent, who to me is just a must-see every year, no matter what.
That's the truth. Both of those are really great picks. The trouble with John Boutte this year is there's a conflict with Rebirth and Preservation Brass and Monk with the Golden Eagles. So it's just like I tend to be a get there before he starts and leave after he's done playing the song from Treme person when it comes to John's sets at the fairgrounds, but that's going to be tough.
He pretty much has been ending all of his local shows with the Treme song. So if you wait till that's over, you're going to see the whole set.
No, I know that was the point. Yeah, that was the point. I think one of that is my big conflict. The other one is I actually I really want to see Badu. I haven't seen her in forever. and that she's going to be playing at the same time as the Klezmers is kind of rough and tough for me. Oh, hang on a second. Yes.
This is where we
We
need
have
to.
a special appearance.
Oh, nice.
Oh, hey. Here, step in. There we go. Now we can see you.
Both kids on. I love you. Good night, Dad. Good night, baby. Let me see him at Jazzfest.
Good night.
So for anyone who's listening on the podcast, not watching YouTube, we just had a special appearance from Russ's son. We didn't get any of his sleeper picks, but in the future, we will book him.
I haven't told him that Dumpsta Funk is first weekend, so you can't tell him. He loves the United Nations Stomp cover. He loves it. Yeah. My sleeper pick for Saturday. I'm gonna probably butcher his name, which is funny because I know his brother and I've listened to his brother play music. Matt Lemire is playing a stride show at the Rhythmporium, and I got to catch him a couple times over this quarantine, and he plays a mean piano. I would, if you don't have any conflicts at 12 o'clock, which you probably do, but if you don't, I would check the New Orleans in Stride at the Rhythmporium. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
I also think that this is a really good Congo Square day. If I had a crew that was setting up camp there, I would be really happy with that.
Yeah, Shamar and Rebirth.
Yeah, and Pell's great. I
Pell?
saw Pell open for Tank and the Bangas in Philly right before the pandemic happened, and he's gonna get the party going. He's a great MC, and then Rebirth, and then who knows how long the break will be between Rebirth and then Badu, but that's gonna be a fun day.
We might be ready to jump into the last day of 2022 Jazz Fest, Sunday, May 8th.
Sacred Sunday. It's too soon.
So yeah, it went by so quickly, didn't it? So
It's kind of how it feels when it really happens, though.
yeah,
is the thing.
exactly. Here's my question to you. What's your first band of the day on second Sunday?
That's an easy pick for me. It's my sleeper pick for the day. A couple of years ago, I walked into Jazz Fest one morning. I didn't have anybody, lined up for that first slot, so I walked over to the grandstand to get some oysters. And I'm sitting there at the side of the lanyard stage eating my oysters, and I'm sort of listening to this band that's playing. And it's a band called MoFast, and I never heard of them. What the heck is a MoFast? But it turns out MoFast is an all-star Professor Longhair tribute band.
Sure is.
Several people who played with Professor Longhair back before he passed on. It was just that day. That was my surprise set and my best set of the day that day, and that's where I'm going to start my Sunday. And yeah, you probably have another dozen oysters along with them.
Nice. It's a crazy thing when you look at the first slot on Sunday at 11:20, which I try to get there for opening, but I think I'm with Mark by Sunday, by second Sunday, that's a little fanciful that we're there at 11:20. But like that alone, that pick right there is a crazy conflict, because you've got MoFest, which I had also heard about. I didn't catch them that set, but I heard about them and was like, whoa. You've got Mr. Tuesday Night, his band, right? Alex opening up Gentilly. And you got a strong personal, sentimental favorite of mine, the TBC Brass Band. They've actually finally been promoted, they're opening up Congo. This is an incredibly talented younger generation brass band that had some pretty tough times that they have fought their way through. Like one of the first times I saw them, they played an incredible fest, and then they're like one of their leaders, their saxophone player, ended up getting killed in some violence in New Orleans. And they've managed to keep on. It sure looks like I'm frozen while I'm giving this impassioned, loving tribute to the TBC Brass Band. Anyway, they've overcome a lot and they sound awesome. So I don't know. It might just end up being where we end up parking, which stage I get pulled to first. But between those three, I'm having a tough time picking.
So TBC Brass Band, they're my favorite brass band also. And I just noticed that it's kind of cute that they're on, well, Alex is over on Gentilly, because I always think of TBC playing Alex's Jazzfests. They were always the brass band at Jazzfest.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always some rainstorm or some whatever, some monsoon happening that they would play through with all their little ones on the stage. And it was amazing. I mean, those are some of my favorite music memories, them playing Jazzfest. So for me, I would probably, it depends on how much Alex I've already seen that fest. You know, there's times where we go to see an Alex project basically every night. But if I haven't seen the band, then I'm probably going to have to do both, a little of both. But now I might need to go to this Mo Fest thing too. So thanks, guys. Oh, wait, I might not be there Sunday. So anyhow, I can imagine.
I think you'd have to change your trip. That can't happen.
And the one that I'm looking forward to the most, actually, in a day that is literally stacked end to end, I'm probably gonna, like, 5 minutes after we stop, be like, no, wait. But the one that I think I'm really looking forward to the most is the Charlie Gabriel and Friends set.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, man's coming up on 90. We got to give him his flowers, you know? Like, he made it through this insane pandemic, is still playing, still sounding infinitely better than people half his age.
And a new album out.
A new album out. A new album out that may be one of two new albums out, because there was an album of his material that had a GoFundMe that a bunch of us contributed to, that I think is coming out at some point later this year. But I just, like, you know, I think when the start of this insane thing happened, there were a lot of things that I was like, holy shit, am I ever going to blank again? And, like, Toy Toy Toy, I really want to see Charlie Gabriel play in that Economy Hall.
Don't disagree, but how do you skip that Dr. John tribute?
Right.
For sure. It's going to suck. It's going to suck skipping it. Or I'll do some of one and some of the other. But, like, I got, you know, like, Charlie's here. Charlie, I got to see Charlie. So Marissa can throw some underwear at him, but she keeps threatening to whenever.
Who do you close the fairgrounds with? Who's the last band of the day for you?
Oh, God. I think for a similar reason, probably Buddy. I haven't seen Buddy in forever. And I don't like the blues tent, as we've all talked about. But it's Buddy Guy.
So my tradition, I always, because that closing slot on second Sunday is always just so ridiculous. But I never stay put for that one. I always do a full lap of the fairgrounds and catch about 10 minutes of a bunch of different bands. So Bon Bon Vivant, if you haven't heard of them, over in Lagniappe, crazy good French tinged jazz. So them, and I'll catch some Wild Magnolias, and I'll catch some Kermit, hope to catch a little bit of Willie Nelson, and then probably by getting close to 7, because he always goes late, I'll end up at the fest stage for Shorty.
Sure, that's true now.
Well,
It's
normally
Sunrise out there too.
oh yeah. Normally I end my Sunday with Bobby Lounge on Yap, and there's a big empty iron lung on the cubes where he should be. So that breaks my heart a little, because I love that silliness. I look forward to it. I feel like it's a particular type of fest fan that is always there for Bobby Lounge, and they're my people. So if I am lucky enough to be at the fairgrounds that day, I will probably do something akin to what Swag just said and just kind of do a lap. I love the Party for Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. That's like just good, joyful feeling, right? I got to see Willie. I don't know. Who knows? If I'm there, I'm going to be barely standing. So wherever I can I can hobble over to. That's how I'll end the day.
Yeah.
No one's mentioned Nora Jones. I'm a big fan of Nora Jones. I
Mhm.
may have to leave Willie to catch a bit of Nora. I don't know how many more opportunities I'll get to see Willie Nelson, because
Yeah.
he's getting on in years.
Mhm.
But
I just had to cancel a couple things too.
Yes.
I do love Nora Jones. I'll go with the mood. If I feel like a chill set in the jazz tent, the end of a hot day, I think Nora might be the answer for me. But
Just
I wanted to ask-
strategically, I
Yeah.
think when someone like Willie is playing, with his age and his health, and especially when it's listed as Willie and family, it's
Yeah.
not going to be an hour and 15 minutes of Willie, and
Right.
you're more likely
Be
to
there at the
catch
start or
Willie
be there at the end.
be there at the end. It'll probably
Mhm.
be a half hour or 45
Mhm.
minutes before he comes up, but if that's Lucas Nelson back up there on stage, I mean that's okay too, right?
Mm. I wanted to ask Nicole, assuming, hopefully you will be there the last day. You're making encouraging noises. What would you do in the penultimate slot of the day? What would you go for Jimmy Buffett? Would you go
No,
for
stop it.
your new favorites, the Radiators?
Sorry, I shouldn't have clapped. That was really loud. Mark and I went to see the Radiators when we were in New Orleans in January, and we'll never stop busting each other over it. Well, Mark genuinely was going, and I was not a very big fan of the Radiators, but I went because I like to party, and it was fun. I had a good time. Okay, that's it. I won't be there.
Oh. You're going to Kool and the Gang instead,
I
right?
would probably no. Oh no, I'll go see Kool and the Gang. No, maybe Nicholas Payton, but no, I wouldn't miss Helen Gillet's Jazz Fest set. They're always really
Helen,
special.
yeah.
Yeah, they're always super special. She always does something unique and different and thoughtful. And normally I would have said Beau Soleil with Michael Doucet, but Michael Doucet just sustained an injury in Alaska on tour. So I don't know how that's going to affect their performance at Fest. And then of course I'd have to swing by and see Marc Breaux's New Orleans Jazz Giants, because that has to happen.
Yeah.
There is not
And
a
Russ.
weak there's not a weak link in that 4 p.m. time slot.
Oh,
No.
no.
I'm not
No
familiar with the
daylight.
people. I'm not familiar with the people in the kids tent, but I would be happy watching a full set from any of the other 10 bands.
Well,
Yeah, there's-
Rust, you can take Elijah to see Glenn Hartman in the kids tent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. I could also take him to see the Headhunters. You got to understand, he's stuck with me as much as I'm stuck with him. I think there's no weakness in here. You could go see Big Chief Juan and Giacomo's Groove at the Cultural Pavilion. That is, for my money, probably arguably the best Indian unit out there right now. They're big. Obviously, all due respect to Monk, who I will always see, but the last couple of years, the Giacomo's Groove has been just on fire, including the year with the Cuban Exchange, when he had the Cuban drummers join him up on stage and made this amazing passion speech where he was which ended with the crescendo of because my name, I've been waiting to play this kind of music this way for a very long time, because my name is Juan Carlos Pardo. And then he started doing some crazy funk with Cuban son beats, and it was just it was so good. It was so you go to the tiny little Cultural Pavilion and go check out one of the best bands you'll ever hear. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing on the scorecard at all.
Well, guys, this has been great. Thank you.
Well, we're supposed to do a lightning round of night stuff.
Oh,
So people say their one favorite show of
Or whatever. Make a few quick picks. Who wants to go first?
So
Well,
one of my traditional favorite night shows, it's always First Sunday at DBA. and they call it Funk and Chant. That's Big Chief Monk Boudreaux playing with John Papa Groves. And I try not to miss that show during Jazz Fest. That's always one of my favorites. Two others that jumped out at me is second Thursday, you've got Carl Denson doing a show, I think at the film, at Tips for the Fillmore, is doing the music of David Bowie. And if you've ever seen Carl do one of his tribute shows, those are always great. And the third one that jumped out is the Word at Tips on Second Friday, which is John Medeski and Robert Randolph and Luther and Cody Dickinson from the North Mississippi All Stars, who are doing More Sacred Steel. It's a band that seems to get together and put out an album once or twice a decade, and then they disappear to their own regular projects. So I might try to make that one.
I'm curious about this Once a Dozen show. It's a whole bunch of folks that used to be in the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, including Efren, and Roger Lewis sitting in with them. There was a show similar, a little bit different to this, but somewhat similar in 2019 at that art pavilion on Rampart. I don't know if folks got to that. But that was a real fun show.
Where is it?
Obviously, I'm always ending my Sacred Sunday with Frequinox, and I usually start my week with it. They're at DBA on Sunday, and they're at the Toulouse Theater on Monday. And I think the other thing I'm just trying to figure out is there are of course a whole bunch of these great sort of fantasy funk ball, these 10 musicians that you love playing together, maybe for the first time. There are a bunch of those that seem really cool and really interesting. But I'm also trying to figure out how I replace the prime example. I'm always trying to figure out, where do I catch the local cats that are not touring New York? And I feel like I haven't totally answered that question yet for this year, but the prime example was a great kind of secret spot. I feel like it's one of the jazz clubs in America that was still very much in an African American community, was filled with African. I was one of the only white people in the place when I walked in for most of the shows that I've been to, and there was just such a chill, not stuck up, not the food was affordable and delicious, and the people were into it. They were chatting with their neighbors, but they were also really into the band. There was just something really homey about that.
Russ, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but my first
I actually still haven't picked most of my night shows, so we'll see. We'll see how I do.
Russ, I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but my first Jazz Fest night show was at the Prime Example. It was Nicholas Payton. That was a way to get this thing started, right?
Wow. You've come to the right place.
Yeah.
And seeing Nick Payton in there, my God.
It was amazing. Yeah. I was like, wow, so that's what everyone's been telling. That's why everyone's been telling me to come to this. Yeah. Yeah. Mark, you should share your picks, because I'm probably just going to go wherever you're going. So second it.
Well, I think if you're there, well, you'll be the first weekend. The Valparaiso Men's Chorus. What an only New Orleans show. They play very few gigs a year. Used to play at Jazzfest, the late lamented Jazzfest. But the other place, which is their own, is the Satin Bar. To see them there, absolutely unique experience. Very, very, very amusing, very funny. One of our own threadheads holds down the back line. Win Capit. And it's just Alex, the brilliant Alex McMurray, the deranged Alex McMurray doing sea shanties with a bunch of reprobates in the Satin Bar. I mean, just a perfect only New Orleans gig. And so the second weekend one, hopefully you'll be there, Nicole, is of course Rory Danger and the Danger Dangers at BJ's. Another only New Orleans project. You've got Aurora Nealand, Spencer Boren, the late Spencer Boren used to be in the band. Andre is the drummer, I believe, there. Mark Paradis, The lead singer and guitarist Johnny Sketch is another one. It's a large group. It's very hard to describe the music. It's all over the place. But usually each show has got its own theme, and it's similarly deranged, just as the Valparaiso Men's Chorus. There's Aurora Nealon's weirdness, but very, 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 very good music. And not everybody gets it, but for me, it's an absolute highlight.
I am looking forward to Valparaiso as well, because that night is going to be really fun because we're going to the Music Box first.
There you go.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we are going to go to the Music Box. I may try to sneak out to go to BJ's to see Charlie and the Tropicals with Tuba Skinny. Hey, why not? And then we will be at Valparaiso. So I need to like basically get rested before all that happens. If I'm still standing, that's the plan that night. I don't really have any big picks to make because I haven't spent a lot of time looking at the grids yet, but I have my eye on Saturday, April 30th. Helen, Gilley, and Jessica Laurie are going to be at the Portside Lounge, which
That's going to be great.
Yeah, and have you been to that venue?
I've not, but I love both of those musicians.
Yes, so do I, and I like that venue. It's just a cool neighborhood joint. They have they have like tropical drinks. It's kind of a boatish themed place. It's a good place to go if you're tired from being on your feet all day, because I think I've always found a seat. So I think that might be my move on Saturday, April 30th.
Oh, one new venue that I'm looking forward to getting to, I think I'm going to try to catch Mark Stone there actually, is the Zony Mash,
Mm-hmm.
the outdoor beer hall. I mean, I managed to make it almost an hour and a half without talking about the dreaded plague. But like, I think I would be remiss to say if I'm not like thinking about picking my spots a little bit more carefully when it comes to the indoor sets.
Right.
And if I can find some more outdoor sets, and if New Orleans could, as a city, get a little bit more serious about making it easier for venue havers to have outdoor spaces.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to probably try to find a few outdoor shows to mix in.
There are several new outdoor venues that have opened up.
Be a little mindful.
I have a final question for all four of you. Which of you, if any, have done the full day of Jazzfest from 10:45 to 7:15, gone back to your hotel or home or Airbnb, showered, cleaned up, gone to a nice dinner, and then stayed out all night at clubs?
Mark and I don't eat.
Yeah, that's true.
Is getting like a to-go plate from the Praline Connection and eating it while watching Dr. Lonnie Smith count?
Sure.
Sounds like a nice dinner.
You're hardcore.
I don't do it as much as I used to, but
Yeah.
I used to run on that pattern. A nice dinner, and then you're not done with dinner till midnight, and then you go down on Frenchman till 4 a.m. Not usually sunrise, but yeah, those days are less usual than they used to be.
And how many of you have seen the sunrise by staying out all night?
Last
One time.
2019 Fest, Mark and I and some other folks. How many places did we go that one night? It was like 7.
Oh, right. Usually Brian Furman is involved in these
Oh,
escapades.
definitely. Well, he's a car. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We went to I forget where for Soul Brass.
Snake and Jake.
Yes, Little Freddie King, Soul Brass Band. We went up to Le Bon Temps Brûlé because we were just like, something will be happening there. Remember, it was mind blowing.
Chris Royal was playing.
Yes,
Chris Royal's bands. Yeah, that was great.
And there were these people dancing, like it was wild. Remember that? They were it was so out there. Sorry, I know we need to wrap this up. And then we kind of snuck into Tipitina's maybe. We didn't pay anything. And then we went to Snake and Jake's, and then we saw the sunrise.
Galactic, if you're watching, she doesn't mean it.
Galactic, yes, she does. All right. This has been really, really great. I think we'll be
Yeah.
posting this tomorrow. Tomorrow being, I don't know what tomorrow is, the 12th of April. This should be live, or not live, but on our podcast platforms and on YouTube. So thank you all for joining. I think we're going to be doing this every year, a Cubes Roundtable.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you guys
Thank-
for being
thank-
part of our weird experiment with this. I think it went well.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you all soon.
Okay. So long.
Hey, right.